call on the majority to support accountability. Also in this broadcast, University administrators shun Education Minister's plea to call off strike. Instead, extend strike indefinitely as students bear the brunt of the decision. Ahead, GTEC's notice to some senior staff to return to work. Also ahead in business, we'll tell you about the Bank of Ghana identifying $4.8 billion worth of annual SME financing gap amid calls for digital data-driven lending to businesses. I am Kemini Amano with the Daily Brief. You're welcome. It's the Daily Brief here on TV3. I am Kemini Amano. We can now bring you some news summaries.
The minority in parliament is accusing the Ghana Gold Board of hiding behind the Bank of Ghana to dodge accountability over a reported $1.7 billion rule loss that it says possesses a serious threat to the economy. Leader of the caucus, Alexander Appiah-Marking, has challenged Gold Board's accounting. The KNUST Hostel Owners Association is pushing back strongly against moves to control hostel fees, insisting that their facilities do not operate under conventional landlord-tenant agreements. The association says any attempt to impose blanket rent controls could threaten accommodation for thousands of students. A new mining bill in Parliament seeks to reshape the industry, reducing mining leases to 20 years and exploration licenses to 5 years. It also proposes a greater role for chiefs in decisions on mining activities in their communities. Speaking at Damai at the opening of a new district office for the Minerals Commission, the Lands Minister Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa said the bill will establish district mining committees with traditional leaders as key members. The Young Cocoa Farmers Association has petitioned President John Dramani Mahama to provide urgent clarity on key issues ahead of the 2026-2027 cocoa purchasing season. In a petition, the association said farmers remain concerned about the financial difficulties experienced during the 2025-2026 season and the uncertainty surrounding the new season.
We can now bring you some business news with Menu Afo. Hi, Menu.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm all right. It's good to have you back here. What's happening in the world of business?
Well, today we are heavy on the financing gap that SMEs are facing. The Bank of Ghana has estimated about $4.8 billion gap that SMEs are facing, and we are hoping that that gap will be bridged in the coming years. You have details of that and more coming up shortly. So to our first story, the Bank of Ghana has identified an estimated $4.8 billion annual financing gap facing small and medium-sized enterprises. Speaking at the National ICT Week celebration, Secondary Deputy Governor Matilda Asante-Asiedu urged financial institutions to make greater use of digital transaction data to improve access to credit.
Second Deputy Governor Matilda Asante-Asiedu says SMEs are still struggling to access working capital despite the country's expanding digital payment ecosystem. She wants transaction histories to become a stronger basis for lending decisions.
I think the most persistent bottleneck is not technology, not at all. It is the financing gap facing the very SMEs our digital infrastructure was built to serve. Recent estimates place Ghana's SME financing gap at $4.8 billion annually. That's one of the most severe gaps on the continent, despite our comparatively sophisticated financial system that I just spoke to you all about.
The second deputy governor is also pushing for open banking and stronger data sharing frameworks, arguing that digital finance must ultimately translate into more affordable and accessible credit for businesses.
That disconnect between transaction data and credit access, in my view, is the single largest unrealized opportunity in this room.
Away from that, the Association of Ghana Industries has raised concerns that the government's decision to reverse the electricity bulk billing arrangements could force some businesses to downsize in order to remain operational. Speaking on Business Focus, the Greater Accra chairman of the AGI, Chona Makpelu, said the move has already increased electricity costs for some members by about 46% this year.
We have always been on the view that these special arrangements was going to cushion industry to grow. And so for us to be almost in the middle of the year, and then all of a sudden, we now wake up to a situation where the cost of this specialized arrangement is going to go up about 40%. We believe it's not fair to industry, especially with the situation that only a handful of these companies involved are consulted. A lot of them, they just wake up one morning and realize that the cost of power has gone up. And our view is that this is really going to affect industry in a big way, especially that the cost of power constitutes about 30% of the overall production. And it will not only end there, it would go to affect the eventual final consumer, and it will affect industry in many other ways. I can imagine that there will be unemployment as a result of that, because people have to cut down production as a result of this high cost.
Meanwhile, financial economist of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Eric Wachi-Adom, stressed the need to address inefficiencies within the Electricity Company of Ghana rather than further burdening businesses that are already compliant.
Time and again, ECG in some report and other recognized bodies report have stated that the inefficiencies in the power sector is high. Power that is lost in transmission, those that are using utilities and power, they are not paying for it. It's keep going up. So I'm not sure it is fair to pile the inefficiency and those who don't pay for power. We should pile it on the few that are loyal or attempting to contribute their bit. So I think we should find ways to reduce the inefficiencies in the system. That is one of them. Another is to be able to have a strategic plan to wean some sectors off the national grid by promoting solar.
Let's now see how the cedi is faring against other trading currencies and how some of our key commodities are also faring on the global markets. And we've seen that on the currency markets, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis, buying at 10 cedis 95 pesos. The pound is selling at 14 cedis 92 pesos. You buy it at 14 cedis 90 pesos. The euro is selling at 12 cedis 75 pesos, buying at 12 cedis 74 pesos. Now let's move to the global commodities market. And we've seen that gold and cocoa have gone down in their prices, while crude oil has gone up quite significantly, a little over 1%. Gold is down quite significantly too, by 1.23%. Cocoa is also down by 1.99%. Essentially, it means we're going to earn more from the export of crude oil, lesser from the export of gold and cocoa. Time now to check what's happening around the world in 60 seconds. Well, that's it for Business on Daily Brief today. I am Menu Afo. We have more news updates for you, so stay with us. Over to you, Kemini.
We sure do. Thank you very much, Menu, for bringing us the latest business news. Menu Afo there. Let's bring you our big stories this hour, because very important developments have taken place in the last few hours of the day. Now, this afternoon, the minority is reviving the debate around Gold Board's operation. Caucus leader Alexander Penyumakin says his side will file a motion to compel Gold Board managers to account for the $1.7 billion loss. During a news conference, he cautioned the majority side not to use their numbers to block scrutiny of Gold Board. Take a listen.
The IMF has already told the country where this loss comes from. In its own words, the losses, quote, are a combination of service and asset fees paid to Gold Board, discount on gold sold to off-takers, into bracket exporters, and most importantly, exchange rate losses from the spread between Forex Bureau rate paid to purchase gold and the city reference rate used for BOG accounting, end quote. This can be found in paragraph 13 of the IMF report. This is not our characterization. That is the IMF's. And those involved in fact check can check. So here is a question Gold Board must answer. If every one of those service fees and asset fees were collected and kept, why should the losses that came bundled with earning them belong to someone else? You do not get to keep the fees and disown the cost. This is not accounting. That is convenience. And who exactly are these off-takers Gold Board sold discounted gold to? The country deserves an answer. Gold Board is happy to take credit for the foreign exchange it claims to have generated, but it goes quiet the moment we ask about the very trade that discounted sales, the fee arrangement that produced that forex in the first place. You cannot claim the upside of a trade and disown its downside.
But there's more. What you've heard is the caucus leader talk about how Gold Board cannot distance itself from the losses incurred in the domestic gold exchange program. But they're also asking for more accountability. They are pleading to the majority side to help them seek accountability as far as Gold Board operations are concerned. Take a listen.
The role Gold Board played in the transaction places significant responsibility on it because, one, Gold Board participated directly in buying, aggregating, assaying, and exporting the gold. Two, Bank of Ghana provided the financing. Three, Gold Board earned fees from the transactions. But when the program generated substantial financial losses, those losses were not reported on the balance sheet of Gold Board. What kind of voodoo accounting is this? Who does this? This is perhaps the most important point that we, the caucus, want to put across. If Gold Board was legally an agent of Bank of Ghana, there may be a technical accounting basis for recognizing the underlying trade losses at the Bank of Ghana rather than recording them as Gold Board's own corporate losses. But Bank of Ghana is not interested only in which ledger the loss entered. We must ask, who designed the arrangement? Who approved it? Who executed it? Who controlled the risk? And why safeguards failed to prevent losses of this magnitude? An accounting structure cannot be used as a shield against public accountability. Majority, please, our motion is ready. We will file it before we get back next week. And we pray that you, the majority in Parliament, will fully cooperate with us, the minority. Something must be done. We need money for the hospitals. Yes. If government says there's no money to complete the Agenda 111 project, if government is still borrowing, yet it can find 22 billion, and this 22 billion, according to the IMF, is vanished into thin air. Sikana ira.
Let's have a conversation on the back of that. Ataisa is Sagnerugu MP and a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, who I believe has seen the books of the Central Bank and perhaps Gold Board as well. Honourable, let's talk about the questions the minority is raising, because it's no longer a matter of a Gold Board made a loss, but they're also asking the question as to why Gold Board wants to distance itself from the domestic gold purchase program that it played a crucial role in, that led to an admitted loss that we've seen on the books of the central bank as well in the past of $1.7 billion we hear now from the IMF.
Evening.
Well, Honourable, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you now.
Right then. So hopefully you heard the question, but I'll go over it again in case you didn't. I'm asking that the minority position is no longer whether or not Gold Board made a trading loss of $1.7 billion. But then they're asking why Gold Board is distancing itself from a loss incurred from the domestic gold purchase program, which it was a part of.
So let me say good evening to you and to your viewers. I don't know the obsession the minority have with the Gold Board, but one thing that is clear is that they know that the success story of this stabilization we are getting as a country can be attributed to the massive gold trading program that the government has currently undertaken. And for that matter, I am not surprised that they are obsessed with the Gold Board, trying to demonize the Gold Board and trying to make Ghanaians lose trust and confidence in the Gold Board. But let's look at the substance of the issues, and with your permission, let me go through. First of all, the IMF 1.67 billion, or let's say 1.7 billion that they talked about, it should be understood in a proper context. That's number one. This figure represents an assessment of the economic cost associated with the program, and I have on several occasions taken my time to analyze the cost methodology that the IMF has used. This figure incorporates such as, first of all, the service and SAS cost, discount, trading outcomes, and exchange rate differentials. They are accounting costs and not necessarily economic cost. And I'll demonstrate. We are saying that Ghanaians listening to me this evening will know that there is always a difference between the reported interbank exchange rate and that of the BOG rate announced every day. So if the small scale and artisanal miners get the raw gold and they intend to sell to government of Ghana, first, gold is such a perfect market economic good where the prices on the international market are known. So the assayers or the artisanal miners know the cost of gold in the international market. So they want to sell the gold to the government of Ghana through the Gold Board with that price in mind. The second thing too is that they also know that the gold must be purchased in dollars. Now we are saying that we want to localize the trade of gold by using the Ghana cedi. So if the artisanal miners bid for the sale of the gold, they only accept the cedi equivalent of the prevailing market price in dollars. Nobody will agree to sell the gold to government of Ghana using the BOG rate as done by even many other businesses. So the difference that they will pay, they pay them at a premium to make sure that they do not smuggle the gold outside the country. So they sell it to them at the Forex Bureau market price.
Right.
Now the price of the Forex market Bureau and that of the BOG announced daily rate creates an exchange differential. That differential doesn't represent a cash loss. It represents an accounting treatment. In the books of the IMF, they will treat it as using the reference rate, which is the BOG exchange rate announced. So if I buy, for example, the BOG announced an exchange rate of 10 cedi to a dollar, whilst the forex market announced 11 cedi 35 pesos per dollar. It suggests that the difference of 1 cedi 35 pesos represents a cost of stabilization. It represents an exchange rate differential. That differential, the IMF will add it as part of its loss buildup. And that is why we are saying that from day one, we have always maintained that do not use the exchange rate differential that is imaginary and not cash to represent the actual loss happened to the government of Ghana. The second issue, which is more important and fundamental,
but
is that
Honorable, on the exchange rate, I think there are two issues. The Ghana cedi dollar value, which is understandable. But I think what the IMF also flags is the gold bond purchase using forex rate when it's dealing with the gold producers, and then the fact that it trades at a different rate as well, which is what the IMF flags as a very big problem, making gold bonds purchase of the gold much more expensive than what it probably would get on the world market. How does that come to you?
I think that's what I've just explained. I'm saying that the IMF is saying that.
So if that's what you have explained, then what I'm saying is that there are two issues. The differentials of the Ghana cedi value and the dollar is a completely different issue, but also the differences in the fact that Gold Board will buy from the miners or from wherever it's getting its gold from at the forex exchange rate, but then will trade at the BOD rate. That was also flagged as a problem. Why don't you see that as a problem?
I am not saying that I'm not seeing it as a problem. I've already indicated to you that this is what the IMF has said accounted for their $1.7 billion. And let me repeat it. I'm quoting directly from the IMF report. They are saying that, one, the 1.67 billion estimate in its proper context represents an analytical assessment of the economic cost associated with the program and incorporates factors such as, one, service and assayers cost, the discount, which is what we are talking about, the discount cost, the trading outcomes, and the exchange rate differentials. So I'm saying that if you represent the entire 1.7 billion or the 22 billion Ghana cedis to represent the loss attributable to the domestic gold purchase program, you'll be misleading the public because it includes 4 different categories. That is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm not worried because of a loss attributable to the domestic gold purchase program. I'm saying that to take a whole figure of 22 billion, to say that that is occasioned as a result of a bad policy, it is not the factual statement, because the IMF themselves identified 4 primary decomposition factors that led to the determination of the 22 billion Ghana cedi. That's all I'm trying to say. Now, if you look at the 2025 audited financial statement and even the IMF selected own papers, this is what they have to say. The issues we analyze here apply to different measurement and reporting approaches. The audited financial statement reflects established accounting and financial reporting framework, whilst the IMF analysis adopts a broader economic methodology. The resulting figures are therefore not directly comparable. A transparent reconciliation of methodologies, periods, and components underlining the different estimates will provide a more useful basis for assessment. The IMF themselves are cautioning us in our hasty bid to do comparison, to make sure that we should reconcile on the cost methodologies. We should look at the underlying differences in terms of either we are analyzing based on the broader economic expenditure framework, or we are using the accounting and the financial reporting standards, IFRS, and the Bank of Ghana's existing legislation. So it is not accurate for you to pick a 22 billion and compare it with the reported loss on the books of the Bank of Ghana. The IMF is discouraging you of that. And they are saying that reconcile it with the methodologies each of these institutions are using to determine that.
Another issue that the minority has raised has to do with why Gold Board is able to distance itself from the accounting losses or accounting differences, as you put it, that have been made as a result of the strategy that we are using to mop up gold in our system and shore up our reserves, but also ease pressure on the cedi. How does that come to you?
In fact, that is even the disingenuity of the minority. In the first place, this program or this architecture that is being used by the Gold Board presently was initiated in 2021 with the same methodology and the same architecture. Let me demonstrate it to you in a second. The financial statements of the program, let's look at the historical context here. If you look at the domestic gold purchase program, it was initiated before the Gold Board was established on 2nd April 2025, with significant financial outlaws recorded during the preceding years. Official information reported from the RTI response indicated approximately 74.4 million Ghana cedis in 2022, 1.37 billion Ghana cedis in 2023, and 5.66 billion Ghana cedis in 2020 under a broad net loss classification. The IMF subsequently estimated the 2024 program losses at almost $400 million. These figures represent the program is best assessed across its full period of operations and institutional development, rather than through the lens of single-year entity. What I'm trying basically to say is that the same outcomes, the same architecture framework, the same risk-bearing attitude of the BOG started way back in 2021. This simply means that the PMMC used to do this same thing, and the same architecture was used to report what we are seeing currently. The difference between the 2021 up to 2024 and now is the mapping up of massive gold purchase programs. If you look at the total tonnage of gold that has been bought by Gold Board in 2025, it increased by over 100%. Naturally, the cost attributable to it will also substantially increase. But Ghanaians must be worried of the caliber of people that are making this assertion, because the idea of the domestic gold purchase program was intended for two basic primary roles. One was the exchange rate stability, and two was to make sure that we improve on the forex management of Bank of Ghana. In these two primary objectives of the domestic gold purchase program, none of it was achieved. Had 42% depreciation in 2024, and many other things went up. There were severe fiscal slippages. Today, if you're analyzing the impact of the ramping up of the massive gold purchase program we are doing, it has led to the stability of the cedi. It has led to a stable inflation. It has led to any serious macro health indicator you must use to assess an economy is on the recovery path. So I'm saying that there is no structural change and benchmarking that we are using, which is different from what was done in 2021 up to 2024. It is the same methodology, it is the same architecture framework, it is the same risk that the Bank of Ghana assumed from 2021 to 2025. Nothing has changed.
So it makes accounting sense then for Gold Board to record over $3 billion, I believe, in payables to the central bank. However, when it comes to the accounting losses, it won't put it on its books because based on what the explanation we get from you, the gold purchase program does not sit with Gold Board.
Thank you. So let me just provide a basic explanation. When you are analyzing the loss, you look at revenue and expenditure. Is that not it? I'm saying that under the gold purchase program, when the Gold Board goes to the field to buy the gold, number one, the gold is purchased directly by the Gold Board, but it is given to the Bank of Ghana. That's number one. Who releases the money for the Gold Board to purchase the gold? Is the Bank of Ghana. When the gold is sold off to the off-takers, the reserves comes straightly to the Bank of Ghana. So you have to net off what the Bank of Ghana has gotten as a result of the forex, as compared to what it has used to purchase it. What is accounting for the exchange differential is that the BOG haven't recognized the risk of smuggling, the opportunity cost of smuggling if we don't pay the artisanal miners the right and fair value prices. The risk of them smuggling into Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso is high. The Bank of Ghana will now have to pay through the Gold Board to the artisanal mining the fair value prices using the forex market rate. Now, in recording it in their books, using the chart of accounts as enshrined by our laws of Ghana, using the chart of accounts, they have to recognize it based on its approved daily or spot rate exchange rate announced by the Bank of Ghana. Meanwhile, they do not buy the gold with using the Bank of Ghana's rate. I'll give you a simple example. If you go to right now, how much, let's look at the fuel sector. If we are importing fuel, we give, through financial intermediation, we give the forex to the BDCs to go and import the fuel. Now, when the businesses are issued with the dollars, they issue the dollars to them at the prevailing Bank of Ghana's rate. But you and I know that when the BDCs are making the payment for the fuel that they are bringing, they have to use the prevailing forex market rate, because no supplier will be willing to take the BOG rate, because every supplier of forex market knows very well, apart from the announced BOG rate, there comes with risks and margins that suppliers need to also take advantage of. It's just like announcing the interbank lending rate by the Bank of Ghana. Every month, Bank of Ghana, through the Monetary Policy Committee, announced the policy rate. Is that the same thing as what the interbank are announcing as the lending rate? No, because they have to take cognizance of the risks and the margins of all those commercial banks. So when you know this basic difference, you know that you don't trade using only the Bank of Ghana's announced figures, because they are intermediaries, and those intermediaries have margins, and then the beneficiaries also have risk level that they need to accommodate.
Very well. Just a few more questions that the minorities asked today, and then we'll wind down on this conversation. I still don't have an answer from you whether or not it makes accounting sense for Gold Board to distance itself from that accounting loss. That I need a more direct answer to that. If it makes accounting sense, yes or no?
Yeah, it makes an accounting sense. It is in compliance with the IFRS standards. It is also in compliance with the Bank of Ghana. If you look at the Bank of Ghana's other comprehensive income, just go to the legislation of the Bank of Ghana's Act. The other comprehensive income includes 1, exchange rate differentials. It also includes special drawings rights and other differences arising from forex exchange market. So these are also part of the Bank of Ghana's Act in the preparation of their final accounts. So it is consistent with our laws, it is consistent with the accounting principles recognized internationally, and it is their global practice anywhere in the world.
Very well. Honorable, the other thing will be that the recommendation is for this transaction to sit on government's books instead of the central bank actively trading in gold. How does this recommendation come to you?
So I think that Ghanaians deserve the right to enjoy the full benefit of the natural resources God has given us. I don't have problem if there is some level of private participation in the sale of gold. Same argument could have been made with Cocoa Board, because Cocoa Board is also the sole trader of cocoa in Ghana. So why is the same argument not made with regards to Ghana Cocoa Board? The point of the issue is here. We have practiced a system where the natural resources of this country leave the shores of Ghana, yet the full benefit is not given back to the Ghanaian public. The idea or the creation of the Gold Board was to make sure that Ghana benefit from the full economic value of our natural resources. Could Ghana
benefit without the central bank directly being involved in the trade, in that all the transactions will sit on government's books? It will be directly a trade done by government and not the central bank?
No, for now, if you look at under the GHANREP program that was passed in February 2026, the government of Ghana, from June, the central bank is no longer financing the Ghana Gold Board. We are now using an arrangement that was done similar to like a rollover contract and the Cocoa Board. The off-takers give us the money. We go into the field. The Ghana Gold Board pitches the gold and then send it to the off-takers. Then the margins and the profit and the forex is now brought to the central bank for more cedis. So now you won't see it much from June this year into the future because of the implementation of the GHANREP program. The central bank is no longer supposed to be funding the Gold Board directly. Of course, when you initiate a structural policy like the Gold Board, it initially you must have issues with funding challenges. That is why the Bank of Ghana stepped in to provide that shoulder. But now that the Gold Board has matured right now, and we have implemented the Ghana program, I believe that the Gold Board, through its off-takers arrangement, is now fully capable of purchasing domestic gold by themselves without necessarily burdening the books of the central bank. And the Ministry of Finance has already made it clear, without introducing one single tax, the Ministry of Finance has already made available 5 billion Ghana cedis to the Ghana Gold Board to recapitalize it and make sure that we focus the Bank of Ghana to its core mandate of providing stability in the country. And I think that is the core mandate for the Bank of Ghana.
The minority would want the majority caucus to support it to seek accountability from Gold Board. In fact, they say they will file a motion to seek answers from managers of Gold Board. Will you support such a motion?
So I think that I would not have a problem if genuine concerns or parliamentary demands are triggered to make sure that we bring the Gold Board and the Bank of Ghana to provide clarity. But I will only accept such calls if I see genuineness in your approach. First of all, this is not the first time such demands has been made. Both minority and majority committee are part of Finance Committee, Budget Committee, Economic Committee. And at those levels, we've had engagements with the Bank of Ghana and then that of the Gold Board. But always quick to go to the media, to do propaganda, to do political playing on the emotional keyboards of people. I am not part of that. So if we go back to Parliament and they approach the issue with the genuineness it deserves to ensure that we strengthen parliamentary oversight, we as a majority of caucus are in for that type of thing. But if we sense any type of political bigotry among those demands, I am not sure we'll be willing to participate in that. And they've tried it before we rose. We defeated it because they were just doing mischief. And today's press conference only exposes the same thing. We are told that after the regional election days, there are plans to replace Afenyo Market. So he's just trying to catch claws to make sure that he stays in his role.
We do not have such information here, and we can't say that.
We have.
We can't say that for sure. You say you have, but we do not know that yet. And just before you go, we know Gold Board has talked about its surplus. Can we agree that the surplus is not the same as profit for Gold Board?
Yes, of course. Gold Board is not in the business of declaring profits. It's a state entity, public organization. We are not in the business of declaring profit. We are in the business of declaring surpluses and deficits. And for 2025, the Gold Board declared surplus, and that is what is important. How do you just oppose this? And with your permission, look, you determine profit or loss or surplus or deficit using your revenue and your expenditure. If you are able to move the total reserves of this country to 13.8 billion Ghana cedis, now somebody is saying that you've made a loss of $1.7 billion. How can you still call it a loss when you have brought in total of $13.8 billion, and yet the expenditure or the loss attributable to your program is 1.7 billion? How do you call it a loss? If you net off the 13.8 billion minus the 1.7 billion, how do you arrive at a loss? How do you arrive at a loss?
But Honorable, you also know that this surplus has been attributed to government injection of funds into Gold Board. And so I don't know how that plays into the question you're asking now, but I'm not sure it would explain it the way you expect it to be done. But the point is that Gold Board at the end of 2025 had unutilized funds which went into surplus for it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time. Honorable Atta Issa Essegnang MP is also a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. We've just been looking at the issues around Gold Board. Unfortunately, attempts to get members of the minority caucus on this subject matter was not successful. And so we had to have that conversation with Atta Issa, who was readily available for this conversation. We'll turn attention to something else now, because Also brewing in the news is the strike by university administrators. Now, that strike is taking a toll on students and people who use campus facilities. In some cases, exams have been disrupted. Now, this comes despite a meeting between Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu and the leadership of the Ghana Association of University Administrators and Technical University Senior Administrators Association. The dispute centers on concerns over market premium payments and the implementation of an interim allowance agreement. Now, government has appealed to the unions to suspend the action, with the Education Minister asking for a month to work through their concerns. Now, this evening, a new directive from the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, says that specific senior management officials who joined the strike have to return to work. GTEC also ordered vice chancellors to submit the names of those who fail to comply. And in this brief, we'll take you across the country, particularly to the Volta region, where Faisal Abdul-Idrisu, our correspondent, is reporting that indeed the strike is biting hard on the campus of University of Health and Allied Sciences in Hohoe. Faisal, what else can you tell us?
University of Health and Allied Sciences started their end of semester examinations on the 15th, but because of the strike action, the university have had to halt the ongoing examination. What it means is that students of the University of Health and Allied Sciences do not know how soon they would have to take the rest of their papers and vacate and go home. For those in the very final year, some of them have been sharing these feelings. Some say that they are so uncertain of what will happen next. Others say that for now, they are taking the time to prepare themselves well for the rest of the papers and also for their, final year project works, which they are supposed to do as part of academic activities. But the university management has also been speaking on how this whole thing is affecting the academic work and, for that matter, the extracurricular activities and every other thing they have to do as a university. Before we go to management, let's listen to exactly what the students are saying as far as the strike action is concerned and how it's affecting their activities on campus.
Supposed to start on the 15th. So some students even started with the exams, of which we got the information later that it has been postponed due to the strike. So it's caused a lot of disturbance or a lot of distress when it comes to in level 400. So my papers were supposed to start, that was Sunday, but it has been halted. So I'm using that chance to learn more and revise more. You understand? Just to add more info to what I've already learned already.
I understand for you in the final year, you are supposed to do your project, something like that.
Yeah.
How is this whole thing interesting?
So this one too, I would say it is also a chance for me to finalize my project work. Since I stopped doing the project work because of the exams. So this one, I took this chance and I'm able to do some one or two things concerning my project work.
Faisal, and what are you hearing from management, especially to do with the latest we are getting from GTEC, that certain senior management officials should return to work? What are you picking up there?
Well, I engaged the Dean for the School of Public Health, Professor Frank Baden, who indicated that apart from the examination, other engagement and external arrangements that the university has with partners and also exchange programs have been affected because the administrators play key and central role in executing some of these things. He also indicated that as a school, they are looking back on how COVID affected and disrupted academic activities and how best they can, go back to how they handled the situation at the time so that they can bring that to play for the exams to resume. Just a few minutes ago, before I left, I was just stepping out of the school when I got a message that the students may likely resume the writing of their papers on Thursday. He indicated that earlier that they were already engaging management and council to see how best they could approach it. And it's obvious that by Thursday, they would have to resume. But of course, he's also urging that this issue around the strike is resolved properly so that it is called off entirely to allow school activities to continue.
Faisal, good job there. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Faisal Abdul-Idrisu is our Volta region correspondent. Joining me now is Michael Owusu-Ansah, who is with the Ghana Association of University Administrators. Michael, good evening to you. Oh, it would appear Michael may not be over the telephone now, but we've just moved from the University of Allied and Health Sciences in Hohoe, where we understand that exams were disrupted, but based on what, our correspondent is picking up, it will resume again on Thursday. Now, remember that this is stemming from a strike embarked upon by university administrators. And it's not just affecting schoolwork, even university facilities. Like we heard from the from the KNUST hospital as well, where some administrative work is not being done because they are university administrators as well who are on strike. In a tad, or perhaps I should try him again, Michael Owusu-Ansah is with the Ghana Association of University Administrators. Michael, good evening to you.
Hello, good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Fantastic, I can. And Michael, the association shunned the education minister's plea for you to end the strike and give him 1 month to deal with your concerns. Why?
Well, thank you very much. The association met the Minister of Education. A very fruitful, frank, and friendly conversation on all the outstanding issues. The minister was very candid with us with what he can do and what he cannot do. The association also understood him and then indicated to the minister that because this was he should allow us some 48 hours to consult our rank and file. And we believe that at the moment, consultation is ongoing and we will soon have a resolution around the issue.
I see. But while that resolution, is being sought after, we know that your members are still on strike. And it's already biting hard at some of the students and users of university facilities. How soon would you reach that resolution, do you think?
So I must indicate that National Executive Committee, and we have explained the issues to our National Executive Committee. The UG branch suspend the strike, hoping that the assurances within the minister is carried through to satisfactory end. So within the next 48 hours, we hope to conclude consultation and do an open communication. We are hoping that all things being equal, by Thursday, Friday, things should normalize for us to
go. I see. Which is why perhaps we're hearing also about the exams resuming on the University of Allied Health Sciences campus in Hohoe. So by Thursday, this strike should be called off, you're telling us.
Yeah, certainly. We have indicated from the beginning, students are not our target. Students are our stakeholders. The university business is not our target. We do not intend to disrupt the academic calendar. All that the strike sought to do was to get an attention and get our issues to be brought on the table. So now that we are on the table discussing, we believe that latest by close of the week, things will normalize and that the strike will be de-escalated and that things will resume, normal work will resume to the comfort of everyone. But the lens must not be glossed over. We have all agreed that the non-teaching staff are a good complement to the teaching faculty. The university business is a teamwork, and at no point in time is GAWA going to allow any unfair treatment, any discrimination against us. At that point, we believe has been made clear, and the minister assures that the concerns are going to be addressed. So we are taking the minister by his word.
I see. In the meantime, are you aware GTEC has signaled that some senior management officials should return to work immediately?
Yes, we are aware, and it was a subject of the conversation with the minister yesterday. And once again, GTEC is demonstrating his overreach in his powers. GTEC's directive, at best, would have been treated with the contempt that it deserved by the university administrators, because GTEC, as a policy maker, cannot descend into operational issues. What GTEC is seeking to do is within the remit of our university management and university councils. In any case, the people GTEC is describing as members of management, they are all unionized members. And the terms of emolument of these people are determined by the actions of the association. And so you cannot decouple them from the management. In corporate institutions where management staff are decoupled from union staff, there is another body that determines the terms and conditions of that management staff. In our case, we are not engaging these people in conversation. The conversation on terms and conditions is being done outside the university environment. And so these people you call management staff, expanding it to include all finance staff and all payroll staff is ridiculous. And there's no way GTEC is in the position for this directive. But be it as it may, we have reported the conduct of GTEC to the minister, and we are expecting them to engage them. But there's no way GTEC can enforce that directive, and there's no way university management are going to comply.
What are your expectations reporting this matter to the minister?
Certainly, the GTEC is an agency, is a unit of the Ministry of Education, and it is rightly within the purview of the Ministry of Education to engage them. This is clearly an. One would have expected that GTEC should have facilitated the resolution of the issues. They are not supposed to compound the issues. GTEC had not invited the striking DAWA members to even a conversation, let alone issue this directive. And the people GTEC is going after, the directors, it will go through a very thorny process to appoint them. And GTEC, within 48 hours, seek to replace them. It's something GTEC can never do. But in any case, we are not because of that directive from GTEC. And then we are resuming because we have started negotiations, and it has nothing to do with GTEC overreach.
Very well, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. Michael Owusu-Ansah is with the Ghana Association of University Administrators. We've just been looking at that strike action, which I told you earlier is biting hard across the country. But Michael has just told us that because talks have resumed between stakeholders or among stakeholders, they will call off the strike by Wednesday or Thursday, because they believe that by close of week, their concerns around allowance payments and market premiums disparities would have been dealt with, which is why they will call off their strikes. He's also rejected strongly GTEC's call on senior management officials to return to work immediately. In fact, he says that we have reported the matter to the education minister for action to be taken, because these senior management officials, irrespective of their positions, are also union members. And before then, if you were not with us from the beginning, a member of the finance committee in Parliament and a majority caucus member, Ataisa, has been responding to the concerns raised by the minority earlier today, particularly those around gold board operations whether or not Gold Board should take responsibility for the losses incurred as a result of the domestic exchange program. He's outlined what his thoughts are. If you missed it, there's always a playback on all our social media handles. But this is how we end the show today. Thank you very much for your company. I am Kemini Amano with the Daily Brief, and you've been briefed.